Because basically we're a nation of kings and priests, okay? But then in that, there's an order. You have people that Yahweh Shai, when you read the book of Colossians, the first chapter, the 15th verse on down, it basically speaks to him being of the hierarchy, the highest of all of the hierarchy, right? Basically, it says principalities that are seen, visible and invisible. He has power over them, all right? But guess what? King David presides as the king over the nation of Israel, all right? So it's one step below Yahweh Shai, but that's why Yahweh Shai gave him the key of David, right? The key to the kingdom. And then that's why he also was given, when he was basically, he told him beforehand, when he basically was speaking with him before he's going to be taken up, what he's saying to David, he said like, look, he cut him, I can't remember the chronological form of what was said, but basically he said unto him, he said, look, so when you're changed to like basically after you've taken the lower state and then you've been, built up back in the spirit, help your brethren basically. So he was appointed that position to preside over the 12 tribes in the house of Israel. Just like Jacob being the father of all of the sons basically. He had that power, okay? And that's what Peter had at that time. Alright? I don't know if you've got something quick, but I'll just got a little bit more. And then you can bring something. It says in verse 15 that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have eternal life. For the Most High so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Now, there's a controversy in that scripture because a lot of people say he loves the whole world. But if that was the case, that would be a contradiction in terms of the Bible. Alright? That's why you want to go to what the original language the word written, being out of the Greek. Right? And the word there in the Greek is cosmos, which speaks to a conglomerate, right? A section of the world, or being a world of Israel. Sorry?
An arrangement.
An arrangement, right? And that speaks to the children of Israel. But that's why when you go, and that'll make more sense when you go and read Matthew 1 and 21, where it basically speaks of the prophecy in the book of Isaiah, the 7th chapter, that basically she shall bring forth a son and shall call his name Emmanuel, being interpreted God with us. But he shall name his name Yahweh Shai, and he shall save his people from their sins, basically. So the Lord is basically for his people, alright? Luke 1 and 68 says the same thing, alright? So let me just finish up on this. So it says, John 3 and 16, God, for the Most High so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And that's the thing, a lot of people don't believe the Lord in his entirety. Right? For the Most High sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. And that's the thing, might be saved. But the reality is that not only are you going to get saved, but it's only going to be a portion, remnant that's going to be saved in this time.
Matthew 16, something 17. And Yahushua answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And that's funny because that's the point. This is something to understand. The Spirit needs to be working with. And for you, you to be straining at a gnat, and it's like, is the Spirit working with you? Says what then? The Lord revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven, and I will say unto thee, and I say also unto thee, thou art Peter, and upon this rock, will I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
That's it.
who's gonna read? That's what anybody.
Well, this is the book of Matthew 19 and 28. It says, Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, even the Son of Man shall in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit on the throne of his glory, right? So Yahushua is going to have a throne of his glory, right? Says, ye shall also sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So basically, they're all going to have thrones. But does that mean that they're all going to be on the same standing? No, it doesn't mean that. It means they're going to be ranked and file accordingly, right? That's why Peter was set up to be able to have the keys to the kingdom of heaven, right? And everyone that has forsaken houses or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Right? Now it's the book of Romans 8 and 16. And it reads, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit. Right? What's the Spirit? You go to the book of John 6 and 63. It tells you that Spirit is the word. Alright? Basically, it's Bible. So it says the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. And if children, then heirs of the Most High, and joint heirs of Mashiach. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. So now, guess what? What's the blessing of the Heavenly Father's Son, Yahushua? Alright? It's to basically be the ruler over this whole earth, as it is in rightful thing since the beginning. But guess what? If we basically suffer with him, being part of the elected nation of Israel, guess what's going to happen? We're going to partake in that blessing as well. Alright? So we're only partaking in, even, like again, this guy's saying that we don't, show high enough regard to Yahushua. And this is the same man, mind you, that said that we're not meant to worship Yahushua. Alright? He had an issue with that. But he's saying that we don't exalt him high enough. We talk about the throne of David, and we talk about Peter more than that. We ain't saying in the name of Peter. We ain't doing that. Right? But the point also being that we're joint. The only reason why we're able to do this, right, to have this as a heritage, is down to the fact that the Lord offered himself up as a sacrifice. Right? And that in him doing that, basically what's happening now? We're joint heirs. We're participating in the blessing. So it all starts with the Lord of Israel. What's that?
I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. And in the midst of them, there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest. And upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So everyone got a crown. Just like the brother was saying, this is a labor in which part of the reward is a throne, a scepter, and a crown. That's part of the rewards. We basically become a nation of kings and priests.
Even just to say, land back and even carry on and say, even the fact that what a crown is, basically a crown goes back to the time of old, where you basically had, it basically is like a honor, right, to your judgment. That's why it's set upon your head. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? Because upon your head is what? The weight of the whole nation. Because your wisdom is revered amongst the people for you to lead them as a shepherd to the people. That's why you have a what? A scepter. Because a scepter really goes back to the rod that a shepherd had, right? A good example of that is when you had the rod of Aaron, basically shooting forth blossoming almonds, I believe, basically a blossom amongst all of the elders over the nation to show you that, look, this is the man. So that's the reason why the Lord says he's going to give them crowns, they're going to get a scepter, because basically they're revered for their wisdom and they're revered for their integrity and leadership, right? Even when you go back to Moses, what happened with Moses? Moses was basically upset saying, look, man, you guys, like, I can't deal with it. The Israelites, Jake is a mind fuck, basically. And the Lord said, okay, go and find 70 people like unto yourself, revered for their wisdom amongst the people, and bring them unto me, and I'll distribute the Spirit upon them. Alright? And that's what the Lord did. The Lord did that. And this is the same thing that's happening right now. These are men that are revered for their wisdom, but guess what? They're going to have their portion accordingly within what? The body of Yahweh Shai.
And in verse 43, and in the midst of them, there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing, and put on the immortal, and they have confessed the name of the Most High. Now are they crowned and receive palms. Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it the crown of them, and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Yeah, so that's the reward, the what you're given at the end of your race. And like it says, these are the men that stood so stiffly, because this is a matter of labors, works that need to be seen through to the end. And that's why the reward is so heavy, is weighed so heavy. Such a great reward. Why? It's a very small number that are basically going to stand for the name of Yahweh Shai. A very small number. Because you've got guys that they can know they're Israelites, but they're not confessing Yahweh Shai's name in the world. And that's a big factor. Because that's the main, it was teaching in the name. It was teaching in the name that got the disciples in trouble with the heads of Israel and the Roman governors as well. This is where the issues came, and that's something where it's still to this day. The name of Yahweh Shai is and the truth of the scriptures, because Yahweh Shai is like the brother said, the volume of the book. When you're teaching the truth of the scriptures, you're going completely against whatever carnal system. It's you're going against whatever whatever's been set up right now by the power that's currently in power. Back in the time of Daniel, then it was the Babylonians, and it was like, what, not bowing down to the statue, not doing certain things. Then it was like, okay, there was a punishment associated. And that's the matter of integrity. And this is something which in the modern day holds no value, holds no weight. But that's why it's a thing. It's a matter of faith. Because what's it say for faith? Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The evidence of things not seen. So this is something you basically have to be putting in, having faith, believing that there in something that there's no physical evidence for presently. And as far as for that reward, if you look at, obviously, if you're looking through the spirit, lining up with the prophecies, you can see a lot. There's a lot to be excited about. But as far as for the thrones, the crown, the scepter, the rulership, those things haven't materialized yet. The reward hasn't come yet. Because that's part of what, like it says, they've put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal. It's about getting a new body, and it's about, that will be in new heavens and a new earth. Because it's the whole kingdom is going to be, the earth's going to be completely rejuvenated. So and that's all that we're that we're doing, that we're laboring in. It's faith is that key ingredient that ties it all together. You basically have to be looking like, hey, this is what I'm striving for. And then whatever there is on this side, and that's the thing of the temptation. Because as it is right now, the intensity hasn't hit yet. But at the time of Jacob's trouble, where it intensifies, where it's basically going to be like, hey, look, you're going to have to get down with something or else.
Well, it's hitting, but it's just, you're saying that because it's we know where it's going. Where it's hitting in the sense of like people phoning to take in vaccine, questioning, their little desires that really, for example, going on holiday. Like that's a light thing compared to the gravity of the situation we find ourselves in. But they don't know that that's a temptation. But to us, you know what I mean? It's not something we as of yet.
Because it's, well.
But you're not wrong with what you're saying.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at like,
hey. So us, but there's temptation for us.
Yeah.
Because some brothers have jobs whereby it's like they want to test them. So this is, and technically, really, as soon as you enter the faith, you're entering into temptation, manifold temptations anyway.
Yeah. But that's just the issue, it's a matter of perspective.
We're waiting for, as you said, the hour of temptation.
Yeah, worst times. Yeah. Because there's, an intensity is going to hit. And like it says in the scripture, there's going to be men that are going to have their heads removed for Yahweh Shai. So that's as far as it's going to go. That's why where it's now, as far as I'm looking, it feels tepid. But the temperature is going to be hitting later.
It's the book of Deuteronomy 28 and 36. It says, thou shalt carry much seed slaughter. The Lord shall bring thee, and thy king which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other goods, wood, and stone. Alright? So, who is that king? Right? And we know the apostles, which we believe in our own faith, that's King Marshall. Alright? So guess what? He was over there. So that's a film, that prophecy has to be fulfilled. See, and this really goes back to basically with the word, alright? When you take away from the word, you gotta add to it, alright? So Alizar, Sakari and all of them, what you're doing and saying these things, alright? You don't even realize that in order for you to make a big, amount of confusion about these things, now you have to take away from this. You basically got to fill in the scriptures by another means, alright? Because like I said before, you're straining at a gnat. This is not something that's deep or requires any form of energy. The times we're in is more pressing that you teach about the impending deliverance on earth and to wake up those on the elect. That's the main priority we need to be dealing with. We're guess what? What are you thinking about? You're thinking about nitpicking about little things being petty, down to the basis of your own ego being hurt by the things that came out and the things that said on you through the spirit. Right? You got something else? You got a strap sign.
No, well,
Let me get it.
It's not on the subject of what you're talking about.
Like water. Like wind. Let me get something. It's the book of Revelation, second chapter. Let me read this now. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. The number 10 denotes what? Perfection. Right? Because there's a thing known in the Bible as biblical numerology. Right? So the number 10 represents completion. So it could be it could be 1 day, it could be 100 days, it could be a year, it could be 10 days as said to the Lord. But guess what? It's in accordance with what the Heavenly Father says. That ye may be tried and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. And that's why the reason why it's gonna happen is what? For your trying in the faith. It says, and that goes back to what the brother read about in Hebrews 11th chapter. About faith being the substance of things that are not seen, but hoped for. Right? But in that position, we could be hoping for deliverance by the Lord. Right? So it says, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Right? So everyone's going to have a crown. Like,
Second Peter 2 and start from verse 4. And if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly. That's what the prophet said as well about Sodom, because it's really become that, long time example. Because you think about when Sodom was on the scene thousands of years ago, and now to the present day, man, the end of the end is still being spoken about. That's because why it was really that prime example, and these things exist. These examples were made. So then it's like, hey, if when the following societies then catch their judgment, it's no when they catch their judgment, it's no mystery. And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. Yeah, that vexation with the filthy conversation, that's the same thing with what's it called? Ezekiel 9. Set a mark upon them, the sign that cry, for the abominations to be done in the midst thereof. That's something that the men of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua have always done. Sighed and cried for the abominations that be done in the midst. And that's a big part of what I said earlier, why people are gonna they're like, if you're teaching this word, you're teaching this truth, that's gonna chafe against the lifestyle of the people that are in the world. Because all that they're following after is based off carnality. It's based off worldly desires. Whereas when you're dealing with the scriptures, it's spiritual things, man. Things that really only jive with the spirit of Jacob. And that's
quickly read this on your point. It's the book of Proverbs 29 and 27. An unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked.
Yeah, unjust man is a bomb. It's basically can two walk together. Fucking hell.
Just keep going, man.
Can two be agree? Can two walk together except they be agreed? Because as far as for that's the same thing with what I mentioned earlier about this whole melting pot. Esau's just chucked everyone, every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the pot, and then just stirred it like everyone's meant to be getting along, but they ain't mixed. And it's the same thing, like it says with the 10 toes, where it says, "Well, iron and miry clay, even amongst Esau, all those nations they didn't cleave together." So this is that's obviously everyone's gonna chafe. And it says, what if Satan be divided against himself? How then shall his kingdom stand? If even Esau is divided against himself, that shit ain't gonna run. But it's laid down for all societies, man. You have the hood where you have Elam, you have you'll have Eastern Europeans and whatever, all packed on top of each other, not getting along. And then you had Esau that was more prominent. Esau that was there, is just gonna be looking to like, yo, I'm gonna fuck off out of here, man. Fuck off to the countryside. Fuck off to the outskirts. Because why? There is, you know, there's been a change. But that's how these these examples have been set. But Esau through his pride, he's really thinking he can supersede him. Because everything, he's basically trying to be like the Most High, to where he's then like, okay, well, I've got things that, the Most High, he's saying, the Most High couldn't do this, but I've got it running. But that's his pride, because all you've done is invested in failure. Yeah, there's a bit more. 2 Peter 2 and 8. For that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing, in hearing, vex his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the ungodly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. Yeah, so deliver the godly out of temptation. So basically keeping them from being fallen into snares or traps. And then what? Holding the wicked to judgment. Because then it's a thing where there's a set time, man. There's set appointments. And this is the thing that the wicked don't understand. Just because you do some wickedness, you get away with it for a day or two, a month, even a few years. But then there's that set time where the judgment's set. And then you go to John chapter 9, and it lets you know there's some judgments that will play out on your first go round. There'll be some judgments that will happen on your first go round, but then others that will be waiting for later on. And when you come back in the cycle, that's when you catch it. That's the thing. And that's why the carnal viewpoint. Gone. Yeah. That's why the carnal viewpoint, if you just look at it like, oh, well, he did nothing happen to him. He's still doing well. He's got money. And that's a lot of, it's in the scriptures as well. When the rich man speaks, everyone stops to listen. So they're just looking like, oh, well, they're thinking that riches is a reflection of some form of greatness. But, hey.
Put it on anything.
Yeah. And it's not a guarantee it's going to last.
I think because of that, I ain't
That's
got
why
many friends.
Let me read this. This is more what our mindset should be. This is 2 Ezra 16 and 40. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle. And in those evils, even as pilgrims upon the earth. Now, what does it mean when it says make you ready to the battle? And in those evils, be ready. right? Because we're in a time of the end. All right, it's prophesied from the beginning that there'll be a time of great death. I always like to mention it, the book of Jude, right? It speaks of, it gives more flesh on the bone, or it gives more weight to what Enoch did when he was upon the earth, all right? And then he was taken as to what, why he was taken up. He basically speaking of the Lord making his return with 1,000 testaments to render judgment upon the earth, all right? Then he was departed, but that was before the time of the flood. So now this is the time we're in. So this is Esdras, like a couple thousand years, basically speaking of this time. So it says, verse 41, he that selleth, let him be as he that feareth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose, or loose. He that occupieth merchandise is he that hath no profit by it, and he that buildeth as he that shall not dwell therein. He that soweth as if he should not reap, so also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widows. So basically the Lord's more or less saying everything that you do in confines of worldly operation, you're meant to put your hand to it as if, you know, it's touch and go. Right, I got a missus, you know, if I have children with her, whatever, you know, I do what I need to do. You know, you ain't meant to be wicked, that's kind of. But then in doing those things, you understand, the scriptures plainly say, remember Lot's wife. Right, and the Lord even went into that, he said, he that loveth father or mother more than me is worthy of me. Right? So there's a mindset that you're meant to have in his faith. And I don't mean that totally disown and cut off the family or children all the time. Your family, in terms of your wife and children. But it means that you're meant to open up your mind, having a perspective of, hey, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. So verse 45 it says, and therefore they that labor in vain. And that's the only way it is. Your labor is in vain. You don't know if you're going to have any profit by it. You don't know if you're going to gather the grapes. You don't know if you're going to have good in any of the predicaments you find yourself in. Sorry. But guess what? The labor that you're doing within that work is vanity anyway. And that's why the Lord, Yahushua, when it was at Solomon upon the earth, what he say, vanity of vanity, all is vanity. And that ought to be one of your mantras in this faith, man. Vanity of vanity, all is vanity. We're dealing with the world, you know. So verse 46, it says, for strangers shall reap their fruits and spoil their goods, overthrow their houses, and take their children captive, for in captivity and famine shall they get children. And they that occupy their merchandise with robbery, and more slut, the more they deck their cities, their houses, their possessions, and their own persons. So basically all this accumulative wealth and different things that people have, guess what? It's vain. Just like the movie The Road, alright? You had people that had bug out bags and bunkers with food in case of any form of travesty happened. Guess what? They didn't even make it down to the bunker, man. They were nowhere to be seen. Their skeletons weren't found, their bodies, nothing. But guess what? The man and his son in the movie, they went down to the bunker and they had a feast. So the Lord, that's how he operates. Now let me read this to back it up. This is a representation of our forefathers, how they operated, alright? Being pilgrims. This is the book of Hebrews 11 and 13. It says, these who died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, were persuaded of them and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Alright? So these are our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. More so Abraham. Abraham's a great example. Alright? And it says, for they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. Now, as I mentioned before, when you read the Lord's Prayer, it says, thy kingdom come and thy will be done on earth as in heaven. So what, in even having the spirit Spirit upon you to say a prayer like that, what does that mean? That means this world, you know this ain't your world. But guess what you're looking for? You're praying for the Lord to bring usher in the kingdom. Alright? And that's basically you participating in the same blessing. Alright? So it says, verse 15, and truly if they had been mindful of that country from which they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. So if they had a mind, thinking back, nostalgically to, man, I remember one like you had in the wilderness. What did you have? You had those are the Israelites, those are the tribes talking about how they had garlic and leeks, the abundance of food, and they were drying food out there. But guess what? The Lord basically got infuriated with them because they were thinking about things of the past. And all that you should have knew is like, look, man, no matter how hard you want to go back to Egypt, you're gonna have to swim through the Gulf of Suez to get back there. Because the way you got over into that landmass known as the wilderness of Zin, right, guy walking over into the land of Israel, right, was through what a great miracle taking place. Seas departing to the left and to the right, right, and that's something that they should have been mindful of, as opposed to trying to go back home, or was deceived as home. So anyway, reading on, it says, verse 16, but now they desired a better country, that is, an heavenly. Wherefore the Most High is not ashamed to be called their power, and he hath prepared for them a city. Alright? And that's basically what it is. So the Heavenly Father is preparing a city for us. That's why the Lord, alright, he said, in my Father's house is many mansions. In my Father's house is many mansions, man.
I think that's correct.
I believe that's correct. You know what I'm thinking? That's what it is. So we're looking to the heaven, where the Lord brings the kingdom of heaven upon earth.
I go.
Right?
Matthew 5:3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
Now, this is the thing, and that really, it makes sense, right? When you read through the Bible, when you read from the front to the last, to the back, basically what it's speaking about is, whoa, man. Hey, the scripture, the notes are the best ways in the book of Revelation. It said, Ezekiel says, and in the book is written lamentations, woe, and mourning. So this Bible is all about that. And why is that? Because we're not in the kingdom of heaven. Job 9:24 tells us the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Alright? Multiple scriptures are going to that about the dominion of this earth not being in the vein of the Heavenly Father. Alright? So that's why the Lord, when he was on the scene, he said, blessed me, blessed is they that mourn, because this is a time of mourning. Alright? That's why Ecclesiastes the 7th chapter, the 7th verse says what? Oppression makes a wise man mad. Now the only reason why you make lamented and upset is why? Because you're a man of wisdom. Alright? So if you don't feel like that, obviously you ain't a wise man. Or this is the time of you receiving your blessing. Alright? It's one of the two.
Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. That's touching too much more. But yeah, it's hunger and thirsting for righteousness. Because this is a matter of, on this side, there was a set period of time, during the time of David, during the time of Solomon, where Israel had it to a certain level on earth. But then, other than that, it's not run. It's not run. It's basically been, Jake barely getting by. And, being in different forms of slavery. As such, that's why it's the mindset. The mindset is obviously going to be different. Because that's especially with Jake in the modern day, they're looking at this world like they're expecting a slice of it. But that's not really the mindset you're meant to be in. You're meant to be in the mindset of looking for a place to come.
I've got something.
Fuck yeah.
What's the book of Revelation?
I got no. I was gonna grab something. I'll quickly just open the one. Isaiah 30:1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel but not of me, and the cover of a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. They walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. This is that dream of basically having, fame, success, money, that easy life. But that's really not what we've been called for. As far as for being, if you're Israelite on the planet Earth, you're called as a servant of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. As such, then it's that's not a role that comes with great fame or success or not fame right in the way people think of it now. It'll be more infamy. Because that's why when the prophets will come in, they're saying, "Yo, have you come in peace or like you come to tear shit up?" Because that's really all the they're coming to bring it either or, and that's how peak it is. But that's all that man are really here to do. Until when the kingdom comes, that's when we'll have that time to lounge and enjoy. Pretty much everything, man. Enjoy the whole earth. The Eden, the paradise. That's when we'll actually have the chance to fulfill that. Until then, it's not really been it's not been a thing. But therefore, verse 3. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. Yeah, that's what it's all going to result in, you getting confounded in the end. But that's the thing, is all the nations are confounded right now. Everyone's come to Esau, everyone's sitting at his knees, and everyone's being dished out nothing but Babylon juice, man. Nothing but confusion. Everyone's out here becoming citizens of America, citizens of basically Babylonians, and that's they're heaping confusion upon themselves, man. They're all adopting the tenets, the mindset of being in Babylon, which is only heaping onto them confusion. And that's what you have. That's why I say people say, "Oh, I'm just a Londoner." Like, my nigga, are they looking at you like that? That's a reality, man. It's all that love that especially Jake's seeking. But then even more so, just all these nations have really got, they've had the wool pulled over their eyes. They're thinking this place is really a shit. But hey, this place is gonna meet its end, man.
Micah 2:10. Arise ye in the park, but
it's not your rest.
But it's not your rest, for it shall destroy you with
soul destruction. Because that's if you're putting all your chips in, you're putting it all in on red. On E, you're putting it all in on E.
When Wesley Snipes, picks up the phone and tells you always bet on black and locks him up. You realize? You should have bet on black.
Yeah, I know.
Give me that shit, man. That nigga fucked up.
Going all in, man.
Balls to the wall.
But then it's like, okay, is that, good luck.
Let me read this. This book of Revelation 21:1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. Now what happened? Are you telling me the whole world just blew up and there was no more sea in that earth as well? No, it was talking about the world as you know it. Alright? The world, the bullshit. Because there's different words in the Greek that basically go into the word world, you have ion, which means an age or generation. You have cosmos, which means an arrangement or a world of. But then the word that it's talking about is based, well, it's talking about mentioning ion. I believe if you look it up, it's probably going to be that word. But then you also have oikumene, which basically means a whole wide world. Alright? But the point being more so that the world, as we know it, the rulership, as you know, has changed. Right? When Yahushua came, that's why he was seen as having many thrones upon his head. Because he basically took all the power upon the earth onto himself and, you know, ushered in a new kingdom. You know, I ain't gonna lie. So that's good, man.
Who?
The guy there with the rat sack.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I ain't gonna say he ain't crapper. Like, I mean, he could, you know, his spirit could make it resonate in the spirit.
Never know.
Like, yo, bring it in.
So the angels are going to be the ones to
decipher.
separate the tares and the wheat.
But I could, no, but back in the day, you would have done that. You'd be like, you're the devil, you know. And then guess what? It's like you don't really know.
Well,
It kind of feels good to, you know, come out here and, you know, be that kind of stuff. But the reality is that we don't know. It's not our position to know that our job is to come out and push the words of the Heavenly Father. And whoever it resonates with, it resonates with. And that might just touch somewhere in his spirit that's been dormant. And he's finding out, he found out he's an Israelite now, you know? And he's like, fuck, you know,